to Art Frankly's Frank Friday, hosted in collaboration with with Ellie Hayworth. And this week, we sit down with Jessica Arisohn and Rysia Murphy of Arisohn and Murphy. So we have 4 female founders all present, and we are very excited about this. To introduce my partner, Ellie, a little bit more, she is not only the founder, but she is the CEO of Hayworth, a strategic communications consultancy committed to bringing and promoting ideas in art and design. Although rooted in PR for the art world, Ellie has grown her business to command a full scope of client services that are not limited, but also that are not limited to PR, but also include content development, business strategy, strategic partnerships, events, and speaking engagements like this one here. Arisohn and Murphy, founded by Jessie and Rysia, strategize, manage, and execute art-focused projects in the digital and physical realm. They offer a unique selection of services that provide both short-term strategy and consulting, as well as long-term project support, ownership, and execution. So I will let Ellie take it from here.
Thank you so much, Karline. I very much appreciate the introduction. We are really excited today because Arisohn and Murphy were actually one of the first Frank Talks, which is hosted on the Art Frankly website. And so we envisioned this platform as kind of a way to follow up on those original Frank Talk conversations. And, you know, as is the case with Arisohn and Murphy, it's been a few years since we had a conversation with them, and we'd love to glean some professional practice and other insights from them. So ladies, I am very excited to have you guys here today. We are, you know, coming out of a very turbulent year, and there have certainly been a lot of changes and adaptations needed. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about just, you know, some updates about your company and how the year has essentially, you know, changed for you.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for having us. We're excited to have this little chat today. Since we talked with Art Frankly a few years ago, it's been really exciting. We've expanded a lot into additional curatorial services for our clients. We work with a lot of clients in healthcare and real estate, and we found that they were looking for curatorial services to mesh their art programs with their wider company goals. So things like their marketing, social media platforms. So we have been doing a lot of temporary and permanent installations, working with clients to explore values like supporting local artists, emerging artists, diverse voices. And then we also handle all of the logistics as well for them. So that's something we've definitely been expanding into. This year has kind of turned everything upside down. I know, Jessie, if you want to.
Yeah, we've really invested a lot of our time in the digital atmosphere. I think in that original interview in 2017, I said something about, I don't know anything about the digital world. Well, that has surely changed, I think, for all of us this past year. Regardless of our skill set, we've had to learn a lot more about the digital world. So there's always something we have been interested in. And of course, since we all moved virtual this past year, our clients and their needs have really segued into the digital world, whether it's social media platforms, e-commerce, virtual viewing. And so it's been a great opportunity for us to really hone those skills and evolve those skills. And now we feel really strong in those services and been able to offer our clients.
That sounds amazing. And I think to one of the points that you guys raised, I mean, you work with a lot of clients in the healthcare sector. And while you're probably doing a lot of work remotely and or digitally at this time, I'm curious to hear a little bit about, just how their needs have changed, or if you were doing any projects that were kind of cool and need responsive, timely, obviously, to the coronavirus pandemic that we're continuing to experience.
I think a lot of it has been just pivoting this year, and a lot of our clients in all industries had kind of a big slate of projects. So it was, how do we then continue to tell those stories, but in different ways? So for example, Freeze New York was canceled. We had a client that we were working with there. And as it got moved online, we had to quickly kind of expand how we were going to tell that story online. So improved images, videos, installing the work somewhere else and being able to provide access to that. And that storytelling, we're weaving across a lot of digital platforms, and then also thinking about how it will connect back as we turn to more in real life art viewing, hopefully later this year.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I feel like this project that we're doing here with the Frank Fridays is an extension of how much time we're all spending on, online and in the digital sector. So I think it's an interesting way to kind of hear also a little bit more from you guys. How have you guys been staying connected? Where are you getting some of your information? Just how are you staying apprised of what the goings on are?
It's really interesting because in the past, a lot of our clients aren't really New York based. They're either international or in other parts of the US. So, at first it might have felt a little isolating and different in the way that we were sort of sitting at home and all working within our own confined spaces. But in fact, with the advent of Zoom and more engagement in social media, I think that we've really engaged with our clients more than we ever did in the past. So, when we used to wait for in-person meetings or when our client would be in New York or we would be in LA, et cetera, rather than that, now we have Zoom meetings and speak to them face to face almost every day. So it's been that much more productive. It's been that much more, growing of the relationship. So we have actually felt even more connected to our clients in a lot of ways.
And I think that will continue, in the future. We are so excited to get back to in-person meetings, and that will always be essential at certain points in client development or starting new projects. But I think we're going to see a lot more of the day-to-day meetings just kind of efficiently moved online and not spending that time kind of back and forth and just using these platforms to help the day-to-day movement of projects and goals, especially for a lot of our clients who are international.
I love that. I think, as you ladies are talking, we certainly have all had to kind of pivot in this regard. And I think, I'm finding, and I'm sure Karlina and the Art Frankly team feel similarly, work hours have sort of shifted. We're also looking at other challenges that are confronting us because we're so tapped in terms of the digital sector. So I'm curious to hear if there's any other challenges, whether it's associated with the technology we're all having to learn or just otherwise that you ladies are kind of grappling with on the day-to-day with your work.
I think that, Rysia sort of spoke about it before with Freeze, but, going back to March or April, if we remember, we were all kind of at a standstill, the whole world, but the arts industry in general, everyone kind of was in a shock position. Like, oh, do we just wait this out? Is it going to be 2 weeks? Is it going to be a month? And then May came around and it became clear that this atmosphere wasn't changing, and the arts industry, as well as all the other industries, had to pivot, right? And had to figure out what can we do to make our industry stay alive and the engagement continue. So Rysia mentioned before Freeze, and one of our clients was participating in Freeze, and we had to really pivot and figure out how do we recreate the in-person booth interaction with a client in a digital atmosphere. So making really great content, videos, but also narratives from the artists, narratives from the gallery directors, and making that all very transparent. And I do think that's one of the benefits that's come out of this entire move online, is that the transparency of prices and information, it used to be such an opaque experience when you go to an art fair, and a lot of intimidation. And now we have so much more information and so much more gathering research wise that we know now more than ever. So there's definitely been some pivoting we've had to do, but also some real positives that come out of it.
And I think another kind of direction that has ended up being positive is we've had clients who, because of pauses or just having some brain space, they're really zooming out and looking at their 3 to 5 year plan and kind of what their organization goals are, what their personal goals are. So we've enjoyed working with some artists who are really thinking about, how do I build my career these next 3 to 5 years, and working with them to get them to where they want to be. And it's been nice to have that time and space to have some of those bigger picture conversations that we had kind of gotten lost with the busyness of the last couple of years.
Yeah, definitely.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I think it has actually, we've reprioritized in a lot of ways. I think, one of the words I've used a lot in the past year is, we've edited really both with our schedules as well as with the content and the programming that's launched. So, I think all that you speak to is very, it's very prescient, but it's also very, it's timely in the sense that we're all experiencing it. Out of these projects, you've spoken a bit about the Freeze project. I'm just curious to hear a little bit more about some of the milestones, or maybe one specific project that you're particularly proud of that emerged from, the last time I suppose that Art Frankly spoke with you is 2017. Is there something that has really shown for you guys since then?
Well, actually, we have some ideas for clients, but really for ourselves, we're pretty proud of the fact that we were able to revamp our social media. As client-facing consultants, our clients always come first, and sometimes
Yes.
our own presentation really falls to the wayside.
I can understand that.
Yeah, and there have been times where we haven't posted to social media, for months, and we're very much behind the scenes type of people anyway, so we never really knew if it was important for us. But again, we all moved online. Social media has become that much more important. And we've been able to revamp and use it as a platform for artists that we're watching, artists that we like and that we want to support. And we started a new series called In the Studio. And so although we can't do studio visits ourselves right now, we're trying to bring the studio to everyone with some like behind the scenes images and such just work of artists that we love, that mainly in the neighborhood, really in Brooklyn, but throughout the country and the world when we find them. And I think it's been kind of a little bit of a pet project for us, but we've really loved it, and it's fed a bit of our creative side as well.
That sounds fantastic. I actually find that, with the digital connectivity, we may actually be more engaged with these studio visits and learning more about artists, and people are a little bit more comfortable having that kind of engagement, whether it's on Instagram so I love to hear that you guys have really kind of made that a part of your practice.
We, we occasionally do art sales just because we work with so many artists and with clients that are looking for that.
Sure.
But as we've been posting to Instagram, we've had, friends or people that we just know online reaching out about an artist we posted, asking about their prices. And it's been really fun to kind of connect some of our artists to potential collectors, and just find that people are out there looking for wonderful, wonderful things for their homes, and that we can help make those connections for artists in our network.
Yeah, that's a great positive externality. You're supporting the artists that you guys also feel very strongly about. So I love to hear that. So it's curious to hear, you've been going into the artist studios by way of kind of the virtual sector. I'm curious to hear how you guys have transitioned your kind of your work life. So we've all moved into kind of a remote work environment. What does that look like for you guys?
So we've always, worked either from home or in bed with our clients. We've never had a traditional office space because we are client facing. So we want to be with them and giving them whatever they need. So it's more that we've seen everyone else kind of rise to that, and we're able to have larger team meetings and more day-to-day communications with our clients and the wider teams online. So we've kind of been set up for that, but it's been really exciting to see other teams embracing those tools and how quickly our clients have adapted and using it as a positive.
That's great. So what is maybe one thing in your kind of everyday schedule? Just what are some of the things that you guys have integrated into your kind of new livelihoods, if you will, as we're all working from home and, continuing to kind of to stay connected, but doing so truly through a screen?
Well, I would say Google Calendars is, we live and die by our Google Calendar.
I would agree.
That's always been the case, but I think even more so now, because we don't gather that often together in the same room just because of, COVID restrictions. And so our Google Calendar has everything from appointments, but also to-dos, reminders. It's all color coordinated. We move things around based off of priorities for the day. And it's kind of like a working, living document for the two of us. And has really helped us continue to just be very productive and kind of sane, to tell you the truth.
And we've also blocked off time to get out
for
of
yourself.
our desks and away from the screen. So, we both love to take walks. We live in different Brooklyn neighborhoods. So sometimes it's blocking off a half hour at lunchtime and leaving our phones and just saying, I'm gonna, walk around, get some inspiration from nature, decompress a little bit, and get back at my desk and ready with kind of a fresh start for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I think that segues perfectly from, we were speaking a bit about some of the challenges that have confronted us both from having to pivot, but I think, really it is about kind of renegotiating scheduling. And when your desk is your everyday living environment, it becomes something that you have to prioritize for yourself, or, no one else will do it for you. So I think that refresh is, just food for a bit more kind of creative zeal.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Are there any, one of the questions that I was thinking about as we were preparing this little conversation, I have a lot of peers and colleagues that are now out in the market because naturally there was kind of a constriction in terms of just, both income and just the resources really that organizations were able to put forward. So I'm curious, as individuals, either, junior level or more experienced individuals are out in the job market. One of the things, Jessica, that you alluded to in your original Frank talk was, the need to follow up, the need to really pay your dues. And, there was this real focus on kind of hard work and the tenets, if you will, of professional practice. I'm curious if there's any additional things that people can add to their toolkit as they're navigating a kind of fraught market.
It's a great question. I think that unlike what I said in that interview in 2017, I do think digital capabilities today is so important. And, we're getting older and we're getting more in tune with the digital tools that are available to us, but
Sure.
there are definitely even newer tools that are coming out that we probably don't know that well. So if you're in the younger field and you're much more, comfortable with some of these digital tools, I think that's a huge positive for your resume, that a lot of galleries, artists, auction houses, et cetera, are all looking for people who are really nimble with all of that. So I think being able to promote that, even if it's just listing out your skill set or even referencing like social media work or digital work that you've done, I think that could be a really big positive for people.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that's definitely, we need to sharpen our acumen at that for sure. Because
Yes.
Gen Z is gonna catch up.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great. One of the things we also wanted to make sure we kind of conclude this interview with is just, I don't know, what are you guys jazzed about? What is keeping you positive? What is a takeaway? We've had a lot, it's been a slog of really like negative news. And so what is keeping you guys energized every day?
I think that, on the one hand, again, desperately missing seeing art in person, but I've loved all of the expanded digital content. I don't typically travel to FIA, Frieze London, on all of these fairs every year, but I really felt like I was able to experience them to a degree with the online viewing rooms, with some of the programming. And I'm excited to kind of see that hybrid merge, like maybe spending time at an art fair, being part of an online program, doing more research ahead of time. And I felt like my knowledge on some newer artists was able to grow. And then seeing some of these artists and galleries putting more content online was also able to deepen my knowledge of some of the artists that were on my radar and some of the gallery programs that I follow.
Definitely. And I think, if you zoom out, we all really have to just be grateful. Like the fact that we have a desk and a job to go to every day, we have our health, we have a roof over our heads. Like if this year hasn't taught you to not take anything for granted, then I don't know if you ever will learn it. And we have definitely just every day been just incredibly grateful for what we do, that we can do it, that we are healthy, our family's safe. And really, that's just the most important thing.
I love that. Those are fantastic takeaways. And, I think, ladies, this interview is really framed to be kind of a little like bite-sized lunchbox series. So we've had a really fun time chatting with you. If there's anything else that you want to impart before we go, please feel free to chime in. Otherwise, we're definitely going to direct all of the viewers to your Instagram account to see all of the great work that you guys have been bolstering. And we'll direct everyone back to that original Frank Talk, because it's just really fun to see how professionals, especially, we're in synergistic sectors. So it's really fun to see how everybody has grown and is continuing to evolve despite challenges.
Thank you so much for having us.
It was so nice to chat with you ladies today.